Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you catch this video. Just want to start out by saying the book is available. The title of the book is But Hey, What Do I Know? And the book is about black behavior and black culture with a little history in there. It is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and my personal website, www.buthey.whatdoiknow.com, and it's available in digital format. It works across all digital platforms. It's available in softcover, and it's also available in hardback. And so gonna deviate a little bit away from my normal content for this channel, and just thinking about some things, and gonna title this Who Cares? George Orwell said, "The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it." And so, in saying that, I'd just like to say, if there's no God, then why does it matter who the president is? Who cares who has affairs? Who cares who's homosexual? Who cares if you disagree with what I'm saying in this video? If that's the case, life has no meaning. Life has no purpose whatsoever. And if life has no meaning or purpose, why do we do what we do? If there's no God, why do you care if your kids eat? Why do you care if your family has a roof over their head? If there's no purpose to life, and we're just human animals, why do we go to work? Why do we buy vehicles to drive? Why do we buy homes to live in? If God isn't real, why do we care about anything at all? Who cares if we murder our unborn children? Who cares if our young men and women get killed in the streets? Who cares if people were slaves back then and right today? And I think the numbers that are in slavery today in one form or another surpasses greatly those that came over in the triangular slave trade. Who cares if sex trafficking is big business? That's a form of slavery as well. Who cares if grown men and women seek out underage children as young as 3 years old to have sex with for their sexual gratification? Who cares if we have men, and sometimes women, who physically beat their loved ones or pimp out their wives or women? Who cares if men and women reproduce children irresponsibly with no financial means to care for them? Who cares about these same children being raised in broken homes or families? I mean, who cares, and why even care if there's no God? In Genesis 1:26, it says that we were created in His image. So why do we do everything that takes us away from that image-driven design? I mean, why? Who cares if the big bankers rob us of our hard-earned income? Who cares if the IRS is an illegal institution? Who cares if lawyers, judges, and the court system wrongfully imprison young men and women, sometimes that are innocent? Who cares if the medical and pharmaceutical industries make us sicker and place profits above human well-being? I mean, we have a lot of natural cures out there that they keep suppressing because they keep telling you, take this drug, take this drug, take this drug. And why haven't they figured out after all these years how to produce a drug that cures your disease instead of drugs that you have to pay a monthly fee for to manage the symptoms for the rest of your life? I mean, who cares if the food industry puts poison in our foods to make us sick as well? There's no God. Why do we seek out companionship? Why do we seek out relationship? And why do we seek out friendship? Why do we try to improve our lives at all? Why do we encourage our kids to do well or do better than us if there is no God? If there is no God, life is useless. I mean, what's the purpose of living if there's no God? Why would we even strive to do better? One of the things I've heard over the years, and I've seen it on social media, I've seen it on television, and I've also read it in books, is how can you believe in something that you cannot see? I've been asked that many times in my life. And I guess I'm what you would call somebody in middle age now, based on the lifespan. But the question has always been asked, how can you believe in something that you cannot see? And I've heard people say they are not acting in accordance or obedience to something that they cannot surely know exists. Well, do they really believe that? I mean, I have to ask that question because every time I've been asked by someone, how can I believe in something or someone I cannot see? I tell them that's a great question. And that's a great observation. And then I turn their own question back on them. I ask, if we're going to go with that narrative, I have to ask you, have you ever seen the wind? Have you ever seen your thoughts? Have you ever seen your heart? Or have you ever seen your brain? None of us have actually seen any of these things. Now, a doctor and his staff may see your brain or your heart, but we can't. I mean, if they take our brain and our heart out of our bodies, we're going to be out, so we're not going to see it. We cannot see any of these things, but we know without a doubt these things exist because we experience these things on a daily basis. I mean, can you grab the wind? You can't see it, you can't grab it, but you know it's there, don't you? Can you see your thoughts? Can you grab your thoughts? No, you can't see them. You can't grab them, but you know they exist. If there's no God, where do our thoughts come from? They don't come from science. They don't come from evolution. They don't just pop up out of midair. I mean, in a sense they do, but they have to come from somewhere. They have to come from somewhere that created in each one of us the capacity to think. Science didn't give us that. Evolution didn't give us that. There's no God. Where do we come from? Everything that's been created on this earth had to have a creator. As a parent, your child could not be born without the egg and the sperm meeting. Nothing on this planet has come into existence without somebody creating it. When something is built, it was fashioned in the mind of someone before we ever see the finished product. The word says, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. It takes 9 months for a baby to be born in most cases. I've seen stories where women have told the guy that they told was the father that, they carried a 10 or 11 month term. But, you do have some cases of babies that are born premature that don't carry the full 9 month term. But in most cases, the mother and father know the child before the child is born. Nowadays, we can actually find out the gender of our kid before it's born. So as parents, we go and we buy clothes depending on what sex the baby is. We prepare bedrooms and nurseries before the baby's born. We inform family and friends, all about the process along the way because everybody's excited about this expected creation. It's kind of like when God said to the angels, let us make man in our image. If there's no God, why do we do everything on this earthly plane that God did in the Garden of Eden? God named Adam, and we name our children. Adam named Eve because it was already placed within him to name his wife. We can't read nowhere in the Bible where we see that God named Eve. So when we get married as men, we give our new wife our last name. God told Adam to use his mind and name the animals. As parents, we tell our kids all the time to use their mind. God told Adam he could eat from every tree but one. As parents, we tell our kids what's good for them and what's bad for them. Why do we worry about what we consider right and wrong if there's no God? If there's no God, there's no such thing as right and wrong. Who cares if your next door neighbor robs you, beats you, or kills you if there's no right and wrong? There has to be something pre-programmed inside each one of us that tells us some things are wrong and some things are right. Where did the programming come from? It came from our parents. And it had to come from our parents. We have to ask, where did our parents get it from? So they got it from their grandparents. So where did they get it from? And where did our great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents get it from? It says right in verse 1 of Genesis 1:1 that God created heavens and the earth. And I know our current Bible say in the beginning God created heavens and earth, but the original reading is in beginnings. Because when you say in that means trying to say something was there before God. But God start. But in verse 1 it says God created heavens and earth. Before he created man, he created his home. Before our children are born, we do our best to create a peaceful and tranquil environment for the child. God created the environment before Adam was born. Parents create the environment before the child is born. Right in the Lord's Prayer, we normally, because it's so used to us, they teach us that as kids. It says, on earth as it is in heaven. We're supposed to bring heaven to earth. And that's why we do everything we do, because God placed it in us. We are supposed to create a God environment on earth, and that is what we automatically have ingrained in us from creation. But we keep trying to change the programming that's already been permanently fixed inside of us. The programming can't be changed. It can be altered, and we see that all the time, because there's another force out there. But it can't be changed. It can be altered, but it can't be changed. Why do we keep trying to change it? Because in Genesis 3:3 it says that the magician, better known as the serpent, was more crafty than any other living creature. And right today, we are dealing with crafty magicians who are trying to tell us not to listen what God said. And just to close this out, something else George Orwell said. He said the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history.